Alright, come, let's go. Okay, so we're looking at practice paper 1, booklet B. Now, the diagram below shows the flow of blood in a human circulatory system. So straight off the top, you know that we are interested, the topic is on circulatory system. Okay, from the diagram, identify two blood vessels A, B, C or D that are rich in oxygen. Now, when you are rich in oxygen, okay, remember, there's only two blood vessels. And sometimes if you forget in exam, you reason with yourself. The two blood vessels that are rich in oxygen will be the blood vessels that is coming out of your lungs over here, which is C. Why? Because right over at your lungs here, what is happening is that your lungs is carrying out gaseous exchange. Now, in gaseous exchange, right, you want to remove your carbon dioxide, CO2. Cannot write CO2 in exam. I short form no space already. And you want to take in oxygen, O2. Okay, so once this gaseous exchange has happened, all the blood would have actually been oxygenated. So the blood that is leaving, okay, from these lungs to your heart will be rich in oxygen. Now, then from your heart, when it leaves to go to the rest of the body, it also needs to be rich in oxygen, because it just is actually just arrived or left from your lungs. And think about it, if it's not rich in oxygen, then why are you sending the blood to the rest of your body? If it's low in oxygen, correct or not? Then it defeats the purpose, because in respiration, you need oxygen. So therefore, your answer is C and A. Okay, now, next. Blood that is rich in carbon dioxide. So which are the two blood vessels? Now what happened is, the two vessels that is rich in your carbon dioxide will be D as well as B. Why? You think about it, at the upper part of your body or whichever other part, okay, they can change this. It doesn't always have to be upper part. It can be lower part, it can be from your liver, it can be from your stomach. But the whole idea, it can be from your arms, your brains, whatever. But the whole idea about it is, at other parts of your body, the key thing is that respiration has occurred. In the cells. So when it has occurred in the cells, always remember, the byproduct of it is actually what? Is actually carbon dioxide, CO2. So can you, yes, so can you imagine when all your cells, other parts of your body carries out respiration, okay, CO2 get produced, it needs to go into the blood. And that's where it will, all the CO2 will return to the blood. Okay, I'm going to use blue to show the oxygenated blood. And then it will carry this carbon dioxide to your heart. From your heart, it will go to the lungs, whereby it's being removed. You see how it's linked? So because your heart pumps deoxygenated blood, which is rich in carbon dioxide, to your lungs to be removed, that's why B is also rich in carbon dioxide. So answer is B and D. Alright, so in exam, you need to be able to justify like that. Alright, so always ask yourself, blood that is coming out from all parts of the body, I don't care, is it upper part, lower part, other organs, from the head, from the arm, is rich in carbon dioxide, because the cells over there will have carried out respiration and all the oxygen will have been used up. Instead, carbon dioxide is produced. This carbon dioxide needs to then go into these blood vessels, okay, to be carried back to the heart, and then from the heart to the lungs to be removed. Okay, now moving on. The graph below shows the amount of carbon dioxide in the samples taken from 4 blood vessels, A, B, C, and D listed above. Okay, percentage of carbon dioxide in sample. Which blood vessels A, B, or C does X represent? So if you take a look at it, it is the lowest. Okay, it is the lowest, okay, comparing to all blood found in these 4 blood vessels. So which one has the lowest? Obviously, it has to be C. Why? Because C just came from your lungs. And in your lungs, you will have removed your carbon dioxide. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Mr. Chong, you said remove. How come it's not 0? How come it's not 0 but it's showing the minimal? Because you need to understand that not all the carbon dioxide gets removed at one go. Your lungs can only, that gaseous exchange happens within a limited time. And during that time frame, only a certain amount of carbon dioxide can be removed, leaving behind some residue. And this is the residue I'm talking about. Okay? So X is actually C. So for this kind of question now, you need to be very careful. Okay? Is it carbon dioxide? Is it oxygen they're talking about? And for blood vessels, they're always opposite one. What does it mean? If the blood vessel carrying blood is rich in oxygen, it must be poor in carbon dioxide. Likewise, if the blood vessel that's carrying blood that is rich in carbon dioxide, it must be poor in oxygen. Okay? They are opposite. Okay, any questions before I move on? All clear? Good. Sit up straight, please. Moving on. Now, besides transporting gases, name 2 other substances that are transported by blood in the human circulatory system. Now, I want to talk about this. This one, right, has very serious implication. Listen up. Eyes on screen. It's a very common mistake that y'all ignore the fact that besides, I don't know why y'all like to ignore that one. 2, you have a very serious misconception, or you give very general comment, like what? Food. So you're telling me that the whole entire hamburger can be traveling through your blood vessel. Literally, that's what you're telling me. Cannot. Okay, so I'm looking for digested food. Thank you, Emmanuel. Yes. I'm looking for digested food. Okay, you cannot say the gases. Okay. Now, what else can you put inside? Okay, you have waste products, very good. You can put glucose. I accepted glucose because it's a very high level answer, well done. Okay, you can say many things. You can say water. You can even say mineral salts. Okay. Now, minerals, okay, digested food and glucose is the same. So all these are either or. So if you put digested food and you put glucose as your substance as the second one, no, cannot. Okay? Cannot. So what I'm looking for is digested food, except glucose, except water, except mineral salts, also except. Okay? So be very clear. Next. Alright, the diagram below shows the male and female reproductive system of humans. Okay? Now we're going to do a bit of quick labeling so that you know. Now over here, quick revision, this is known as your fallopian tube. Okay, or oviduct. I know, right? But I don't know why your syllabus says that it's fallopian tube. But in secondary school, you're allowed to use oviduct. So your C is actually your ovary or ovaries because it's pointing to 2. Okay. Your E over here is actually your vagina. Your D over here is actually your womb, where the baby develops. Okay. So just a quick revision, the fallopian tube is where fertilization takes place, not your womb. I stress again. It is the fallopian tube where fertilization takes place. Common misconception, people always say it's the womb. That's wrong. Okay, moving on. Now, so your B over here, obviously the most common structure is your testis, for plural, testicles. And then over here, it's your penis lah, but actually it's pointing to your urethra. But never mind, urethra is this thing that you pee out of. Okay, but I don't think you need to know that. In secondary school, you will know. Okay, so a lot of you got this question wrong because they say, okay, store reproductive cells. Hello, excuse me, can you all please read the question carefully? You know, some of you tell me what? Oh, male, the penis actually stores reproductive cell.
What?
Don't laugh. A lot of you wrote multiple answers, wrote everything A, B, then the next one C, D, E. Huh? Then I'm like, what? You're not answering the question, and it's not just one person, no. It's about, I think, nearly 1/3 of the class did that. So look very carefully. And not only that, do you realize that this is singular? So if it's singular, then why are you all writing more than one part? So read the question carefully. There's a reason why, okay, the question is phrased in this way. So for the male part, I hope you know that it's actually B. Your testis is the one that produces and stores your sperms. Your sperms is actually a reproductive cell. And your female is the eggs. And the one that actually matures and as well as stores your eggs will be your C, your ovaries. Okay? Now, the diagram below shows process X taking place. Alright, so obviously you have your sperm meeting your egg. I told you all this many times already. Okay? This part over here is actually the fusion part. So this is fertilization. A lot of you cannot spell fertilization. You can put S also, whatever. I accept both. Okay, I have to spell for y'all. Okay, C, I like to spend a little bit more time on this. Now, take the characteristics that a baby could inherit. Inherit, that means, okay, it comes from genetically, okay? Now, how do you know that it's a genetic trait? Now, a genetic trait is not affected by environment. What about environment? Okay? Write this down. So, for example, okay, let's just say height. Now, height is not a good example. Let's just say eye color. So, let's say you grew up in a very poor environment, Sheldon. Your eye color is purple. Yeah, you got it from your parents. It doesn't matter whether are you in a poor environment or when in a rich environment, your eye color won't change. That is the meaning of when I say it is not affected by environmental factors. So which one is not? Type of ear loops as well as color of eyes. These two will not be affected. Your length of hair and length of fingernails is affected. So when you can cut your hair, right? Your length of fingernails also can be cut. So it's not something that is so-called inherited, but it's actually influenced by your environment. So for example, if your environment is very hot, okay, very hot, I want to cut my hair short. Okay, let's just say you work a lot with your hands. You are a construction worker or you are an engineer. You cannot afford to have long nails because it will break. Okay? Next. Alright, the diagrams below shows a close-up view of the gills of a fish and the tiny openings found on the leaf. State the similarity in the function. Okay, now I want to stress this. The function of it is for gaseous exchange. So, I mean there is more other functions. So for example, the stomata has got other functions. For example, okay, so Daniel asks, is that all? Obviously not. So for example, another function of the stomata is to allow your water vapor to escape. Because it brings up water from the roots of the plant, which I've explained earlier. Okay, so I will talk about that in a little while. Give me a second. So the primary function of both is that both, okay, the gills and tiny openings, please follow exactly allow gaseous exchange to happen. Now, just now, Joshua asked a very good question. Okay, so I'm going to revise with you. Now, so imagine you have a plant. Okay, then the roots are here. And then you have your leaves. And then you have your water. Now, I don't know if you remember, okay, I told you already, under the topic of transport in water, your water particles, they are sort of attracted to each other. Okay, they are like a chain. Imagine all your friends holding on your hands. And then as your friend exits, what will happen? Your first friend, as he exits, he will pull the second friend, and your second friend will pull on to the third, fourth, fifth, sixth. It's like a chain. Yes, reaction. So what happens is that as your water leaves the leaf, it will pull this chain of water from the roots upwards, helping in the absorption. For two reasons why this must happen. One is to bring water from the roots all the way up to the leaf for what? Photosynthesis, very good. So without the loss of water vapor, water cannot be drawn up to the leaves for photosynthesis. That's one. Two, it is to cool the plant down on a hot day. So you imagine, wow, the sun is so strong, it's so relentless. Your plant is heating up. So how? Because of this action of the water being brought up, it cools the plant down. So two function. Alright? Next, the gills of the fish have many folds. Explain the purpose of having many folds. Now, yes, now, what is the problem with most of your answers? Firstly, you must understand, the folds is an adaptation. Okay, to make for a job to more efficient. So you ask yourself, what is the job here? The job of your gills is for gaseous exchange to happen, correct? So you want it to happen at a faster rate or a more. The word more or faster needs to be there, and I don't see it in your answer. And that is the problem. You all say, those who say increase surface area, right? It's either you all say, oh, to increase surface area, full stop. You get only half a mark. You need to elaborate. So how does having a greater surface area help with the job of the gills, which is to allow the intake of oxygen to happen at a faster rate or allow gaseous exchange to happen at a faster rate? So I would say something like this. Okay? I would say the folds increase the exposed surface area of the gills, allowing gaseous exchange to happen at a faster rate. So instead of saying gaseous exchange, you can also say intake of oxygen. You can also say removal of carbon dioxide at a faster rate. So half mark for telling me increases exposed surface area. Half mark for telling me allow at a faster rate. That's what I want to see. Without the faster, nope, you're not getting the mark. Okay? Because this is an adaptation to do the job better. It's a little bit like your, why does your heart pump faster during exercise? It is to transport more digested food and oxygen. Okay? Because even without exercising, your heart is already pumping oxygen and digested food around your body. It's just that when you exercise, it needs to pump harder to bring about more. Okay? That's the general idea. Got it? Okay, moving on. Okay, I'm going to skip this question 32 as well as this question. I'm going to skip it, alright, due to time constraint. We will come back to this question after your exams or before your exam if we have time. I highly doubt it. Next. Let's move on straight to a very common question. Guys, if you take a look, be it your topical practice paper or be it how I always repeatedly tell you this will come up for exam, this will come up for exam. You look at your past year paper. This question will not come up how many times already. Okay, it came up for your weighted assessment. It came out for your topical practice. It came out in the past year paper. I think you all know what was coming out already. Okay? Take note, this is a common question. Okay? You all need to know how to answer this kind of question. Now, Jack conducted an experiment on a plant with two white flowers, A and B. One part of the stem was cut off at point X as shown below. So point X is here. Okay? Now the plant was then placed in a beaker of blue colored water. After 2 days, Jack observed that flower A had turned light blue. Now this is like coloring session for me. Okay, while B remained unchanged. Okay, give a reason for the observation in flower A and B. Now, most of you got this question right. I'm so thankful because it means that you all are listening to me and you are doing the right thing. Okay, so I just want to run through some important points. So first things first, a quick revision. Now, when you cut the plant this way and you look from it, the stem at the top, you will know that this is what you see. Now there are two so-called two rings. Now the first ring the inner ring, okay, this over here is known as your xylem or your water carrying tubes. You see, I use one word xylem, right? I saved three letters. Three words. Okay, think about it, but I'll make sure you spell it correctly. Then the one that I'm coloring in red, the outer, very good, Flower, well done, Emmanuel. Or food carrying. Okay. Now, so what happened is at point X, you have to understand that what happened was that they cut it so deep until both was removed. Okay, so they cut it so deep until I don't know how much they cut lah, but basically this was all gone when they cut. So because this was cut, okay, the water carrying tubes was several. Okay, cannot. There is no water that can actually pass from here all the way up to this part. Why? Because at this juncture here, already gone already. No more. So this is not possible. Okay? So now we understand the story. Let's see how we can phrase the answer. Now, the first thing you need to tell me is that watering tubes were removed. Okay, so you need to say that the watering tubes. I know that some of you said both watering tubes and food carrying tubes were removed. Okay, good for you. Yes, actually you cannot remove the water carrying tubes without removing the food carrying tubes because the food carrying tubes is on the outside. Okay. Were removed or were cut.
Are you allowed to write xylem?
Yes. At point X. Okay. So 1 mark for telling me that. Where's the other half and half mark? You have to justify for me why A can receive water. So you have to say that flower A can still receive water from the roots. Okay, as it is below point X. Because only at point X, then you cut the water carrying tube. So anything below it, the water carrying tube is still intact. Or you should tell me that flower A can still receive water because the water carrying tubes are still intact. Somewhere along those lines. Okay? However, flower B is not able to reach or cannot receive any water from the roots as it is located above point X. So because it's above point X, you told me that at point X is already cut already, water carrying tubes removed. So because it's above now, so if it's above, then obviously no more water carrying tubes is not able to receive it. But you must just justify why. So by telling me the location is above point X, you justify already. Right? So that's how clear you need to be. Okay, moving on. Now, this question over here. Okay. Okay, this question. Now, some of you I have not completed marking for this question. Now, it's okay. So what's going to happen is it's pretty straightforward. So they tell you that the plant transport system consists of the water carrying tubes and food carrying tubes. The bird shown below uses its beak to peck holes into a bark of a young tree to get the sugary sap, which contains food. Now, a lot of you tell me that it needs to peck and do B, because you think that because it's a sap, you think that this is liquid. And because it's liquid, it should be water carrying tubes.
The water carrying tube is inside, so more pressure.
Okay, so this is a wrong concept. Why? Why? This is wrong. Because they told you it's actually food. So if it's food, it should be your outer one over here, which is actually your phloem or your food carrying tubes. This is actually your xylem, water carrying tube. So the bird has to peck to A only. Explain your answer. Now, you need to tell me that it's only until A because A is the food carrying tubes. Okay? where the set can be found. What set is inside the question statement? Look. Oh. Okay. Oh, you're done. Y'all did this question right, but you can ask me what is set. So this tells me that A is either you didn't read your question properly, or B, you don't understand. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for today and we will continue the next lesson.